Becky had never had life so good since she got married. Her meeting with Pastor David and Rose Mays had changed her life completely, and she found joy even in the midst of chaos, peace in the midst of turmoil, and comfort in the midst of stress. It was an experience that can hardly be put into words. She sometimes feels worried, though not for herself or Katrina, but for Charles. She had also learned to commit him to God at such a moment. Becky thought Charles's uneasiness would get better, but rather it was getting worse, to the point that his phone ringing alone is enough to set him on edge. She could not bring herself to ask him anymore since he would not speak to her about it. She never seemed to have enough of church. As the Sunday service came to an end, she found herself desiring Wednesday Bible study, and because she was always at home, except for the time to pick Katrina up, she decided to always stop over after dropping her in school to pray in church and sometimes help out in certain areas of need. She had been thinking of discussing with Charles to assist in the church as a volunteer, but he had not given her the time to talk, though she had made it known to him that she was attending a church close to Katrina's school, but he never seemed to care, so she just informed him of her outings anytime she needed to go to church. As the time ticked closer, she remembered she had not informed him, so she called, but the phone was off, and she decided to call the office line. He picked, but there was a tone of panic in his voice which she did not understand. "Just calling to tell you I will be attending a Bible study in the church," she said, not expecting any resistance. "Okay," he returned, and just before he hung up she said, "I left your food in the microwave for you in case you returned before us," she said, and hung up. When she got to church, she was surprised by the number of people in the hall waiting for the Bible study to start. She wondered what suddenly happened that was causing the explosion in the church, but she knew that Pastor David and Rose loved the Lord, and there was an aura around them that magnets serious-minded people. Katrina immediately she got out ran to Cynthia, who is much older, but her love for children was amazing. Cynthia had got the same warmth as her parents that most often she teaches in the Sunday school, and the children loves her. She had spied on her once on a Sunday morning and could not but envy the charisma with which she teaches the children, and how they all love to hear her. She also uses illustration and drama to convey her teachings that makes her exceptional. When the Bible study started, Becky made sure she took a seat close to the front so that she would not be distracted, so that what happened or who entered the church would have no impact on her concentration, which had been her attitude ever since she started attending the church. Pastor David prayed and Rose sang a few hymns which they all enjoyed, one of which was Rock of Ages. Then, Great is Thy Faithfulness, and Pastor David began the teaching of the day. He started by saying, "I want to share an encounter I heard about a week ago, an encounter that had kept me praying since then to know how I am to pass this message to you all. Since my Christian experience, to my calling into the ministry, I have not heard such encounter. Some people would call it an out-of-body experience." So many people shifted on their chairs, a gesture that explained how they feel about such expression. Some call it spooky, but with a quietness that could make the sound of a pin to be heard clearly in the midst of over 100 people. Pastor David continued narrating his experience and quoted how Apostle Paul also had such experience, being taken to the third heaven. Pastor David continued to the point where he saw heaven, and heard the voice of God, and how Satan with his demons were planning against the saints, and how God told him that he brought him over to see that so that he could warn the saints. Pastor David got to where he was shown the believers, especially pastors that joined cults and other to be rich, and how they were bowing to Satan for the riches of this world. And when he mentioned how the whole heaven cried, he could not hold his own tears too, and at that time, most of the people that thought the pastor must have gone out of his mind, began to take his words serious. My brothers and sisters, this is for you to know so that you can watch and stay alert, for the days are evil. Satan tempted Jesus to bow to him, so he would give him the glory of the world, but Jesus knew better. Satan is still playing the same game on God's children today, and so many, especially some pastors, bishops, and ministers of the gospel, are giving up and are bowing in exchange for riches, popularity, and affluence. My brothers and sisters, what shall it profit a man, if he, she gains the world and loses his, her soul? Pastor David stopped there and started calling people for repentance, and suddenly people began to come forward with tears in their eyes as they gave their lives to God. Becky saw a figure pass and knelt down in the front. She thought her imagination was playing her tricks, but it was real. Charles was among the people who went forward and knelt down for prayers. Her heart welled up in joy as the pastor prayed for them.